was a personal conversation that we had about how trauma lasts for generation to generation and you pass it down. And that's why we see these things such as generational curses and how we speak to each other and how we discipline children and how we handle stress and things like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why it's another reason why people always say, oh, slavery was so long ago, let's get over it. You should get over it. First of all, slavery was not that long ago.
What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction.
Yes.
Super excited about this video, guys. If you're new to us
And we new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 100K.
And we cannot get there without you guys,
Yes,
all right?
sir.
Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
In today's presentation, we are going to look at the various ethnic identities in the Caribbean. But first, a disclaimer. The Caribbean has been home to immigrants from around the world for more than 500 years, bringing dozens of ethnic groups into contact. So ethnic identity in the Caribbean is rarely a simple matter. It becomes a complex tapestry interwoven with each other. That being said, let's go through the main contributions to ethnic identities in the Caribbean and break down the various ethnic groups and origins of the Caribbean people. Please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for our future videos. The first ethnic groups we should mention are the Amerindians. These are the ancestrally indigenous people of the Caribbean. The indigenous people of the Caribbean cover a vast group of distinct tribes, and though they are grouped as one ethnicity, they too have a variety of different origins. Most of the Caribbean was inhabited by members of the Carib, Arawak Taino, or Siboney groups of indigenous peoples who migrated from South America. These groups lived in the Caribbean potentially for hundreds of years before the arrival of Europeans and had many cultural exchanges with each other, including the Mayans and the Aztecs. Unfortunately, diseases, enslavement, and the persecution of these indigenous people at the hands of early European colonists killed what were the majority of people in the region. However, some Amerindians survived, and today, descendants of these groups along with other indigenous people are still to be found in pockets of the region. Most of the remaining indigenous populations of the Caribbean can be found in countries such as Guyana, which has approximately 78,000 indigenous people, Suriname with just over 20,000, and Dominica with just over 2,000. Over the years, however, indigenous Caribbean people have become more ingrained in society and can be found on other islands as well, though in very small numbers. Following chronologically, the next ethnic group of people we have are those of European descent. As many know, the first Europeans to arrive were the Spanish in 1492, led by the Italian explorer Christopher Columbus. Columbus was searching for a faster way to reach India, but found a new world. Soon after, the Portuguese, English, Dutch, and French all made explorations to the Caribbean and set up colonies where Europeans would make the journey across the Atlantic Ocean with the hope of starting a new life or striking it rich. Persons of European descent make up the second largest populations in most Caribbean countries, but while Europeans in the early period of colonization made up the majority of the ethnic groups in the Caribbean, they would quickly become overtaken by the next group on our list. While historians have uncovered indications that African sailors arrived in the Caribbean before the Europeans, the vast majority of Africans were brought as slaves during the period known as the Atlantic slave trade. From as early as the first half of the 16th century, Africans came to work as slaves on plantations. The slaves came mainly from Ghana, also known as the Gold Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, often referred to as Ivory Coast, and Guinea. Slavery lasted for more than 300 years, and its indescribable inhumane system, from the port of origin to the plantation, caused such severe psychological damage that the effects are still evident in our society today.
Oh, let's talk
The
about
impact
that.
of
I feel like we had this conversation last night. It was a personal conversation that we had about how trauma lasts for generation to generation and you pass it down. And that's why we see these things such as generational curses and how we speak to each other and how we discipline children and how we handle stress and things like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why it's another reason why people always say, oh, slavery was so long ago. Let's get over it. You should get over it. First of all, slavery was not that long ago. Okay? We still have people on this earth, believe it or not, who was alive with the last enslaved people.
Yeah. Yep.
So those things passed down. And I think our generation is doing a good job by recognizing these things and saying, hey, we need to change this.
Yeah,
You know?
100%.
So it's interesting that he said that.
Yep, I'm gonna always say this, that it's important for history to be taught inside the homes, because a lot of people think that, well, they do know that it's traumatic. You know what I'm saying? That the fear is still placed upon a parent who has a child, and they want the child to operate on a certain level only, right? So when the children understand as they grow what history has done, they want to continue to break, we call generational curses.
Right.
Right? So if you
Right.
can get the family to slowly break generation curses, the children don't grow up with this fear mentality that they have to fight in the system and do these things in such a ways just to make it, when in reality you have all you need.
Right.
To be who you need to be. Yeah, there's no one stopping you in this time. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
it's good for them to understand history.
Right. And that's why another reason that I don't agree with, not teaching the history, like, hold on, wait, how I'm trying to say this. It's in my head, I can't say it with my speech. It's important to teach your children the history.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you are in today's time, regardless of what strides have been made, what progress have been made. Let's say, okay, so this is not American content, this is Caribbean content, so
Nah,
I'll keep it for the Caribbeans. But just like we are still studying fossils, studying old civilizations and all that,
Yeah.
we still need to talk about what happened, because history is going to repeat itself if you just sweep it under the rug that never happened. No, you need to teach. And we done went so far off topic.
I know. That's cool though, because I got one too. Because imagine if we stopped right at segregation, right, where we was being separated and told what we couldn't do, what we shouldn't be, and all the things that we were only supposed to have, our hand in. Like, imagine we stopped that teaching there, and we was always in position to believe this is how our lifestyle is supposed to go. The children will grow up one day and think the same thing,
Right.
and the other and it would just be overcrowded over here with the whole system of disbelief in their mindsets. But again, when you teach them the ways of how history was, you can help them get out of that mindset so they can help the next generation that's
Right.
coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is we have covered a lot of topics, made a lot of connections. But I don't think we've reached that point in the Caribbean content yet.
I don't think so either.
We don't know about the colonialism there.
And when he mentioned it, I was like, wow, like,
So we need to get in there. We need to get in that history.
I think we need to, like, it'll be fine, because it's good to know. It's
Yes,
good
it
to
is
know.
good to know.
Yeah.
It's good to know. So back to the people.
slavery and the devastation colonization has had not only on the Caribbean, but other predominantly black regions such as Africa and the Americas, is a topic for another
We
time.
just say that.
But
Yeah,
the impact slavery has had, and for how long it was, the economic system of the Caribbean has meant that Caribbeans of African descent make up the overwhelming majority of the Caribbean. Of those Africans who arrived in the Caribbean, nearly half came from two regions: Senegambia, the area comprising the Senegal and Gambia rivers, and the land between them, or today's Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Mali, and West Central Africa, including what is now Angola, Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Gabon. The top 5 Caribbean countries with the largest concentration of Afro-Caribbean people can be found in Haiti, with approximately 8.9
Haiti, yeah.
million, Cuba 6.9 million, Jamaica 2.2 million, the Dominican Republic 2 million, and Trinidad and Tobago with just about 460,000. With just under 3 million blacks from the Caribbean living here in the United States, approximately 90% of black Caribbeans in the United States came from these 5 countries of Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. Next, we have one of the largest minorities in the Caribbean,
Not
Indians.
Indians.
From 1838, East Indians were brought from India to the Caribbean in large numbers as indentured laborers
Yeah, we
following
did a
the
little-
abolition of slavery.
We did. Yeah,
This-
we digged a little bit to slavery of what the Indians went through. Okay, we got a lot of more digging to do, y'all.
Yes.
We have a lot more to go through. So we did go through this little loophole, you know what I'm saying, a little rabbit hole for just a little tad bit on the one clip. And we heard, you know what I'm saying, and we seen with the labor you got, they had to go through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All over, too. Not just in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Labor shortage resulted in the indentureship system's introduction in all member states, except Barbados and Haiti. Nearly 500,000 East Indians were brought in to serve under this system, making them the largest group of indentured laborers. The number of East Indians brought to the Caribbean was so numerous, they became the majority of the population in Guyana. Indians also make up a significant proportion of the population in Trinidad and Tobago and Suriname, and are found in the rest of the Caribbean. Trinidad and Tobago has the largest number of Indians, which represent 38% of its population, with over 460,000 self-identified. Indians in Trinidad and Tobago can trace their ancestors back to northern India, especially the Bhojpur and the Awadh region of the Hindi belt, and some Indians from southern India. In Guyana, the Indo-Guyanese, or East Indians, are the largest ethnic group at 44% of the population, and they are descendants of indentured laborers from India with over 347,000, while Suriname with just over 150,000, representing 27% of its population, followed by Jamaica, Belize, Puerto Rico, and Barbados. Continuing with smaller groups of ethnicities in the Caribbean, we have Caribbeans of Chinese descent. Caribbean Chinese are of Han Chinese origin and are a small but significant population in all countries.
First of all, I ran across a TikTok. Y'all know I'm always telling y'all about the TikTok.
Talk about it, babe.
I ran across a TikTok with a Chinese Jamaican lady.
Jamaican lady?
If I was listening to it and not seeing her,
Yeah.
I would have thought she was, an average black Jamaican. This lady, look.
Yeah, you Chinese and Jamaicans was definitely an entanglement. I seen a child on the I don't know where, Lord. I think I was sitting inside of a restaurant waiting on the order, and a dad and his son. The dad was Chinese, and the son looked at like more sort of Jamaican. And yeah, the dude was asking questions like how. He was saying how did that happen? So he gave him the rundown, but I feel where you're coming from.
Yeah, but our the last church we went to, the
Yeah,
first lady was Chinese and Jamaican.
She sure was. Her brother was Chinese.
Yeah, you'll see it more in him, like his Chinese side, but more of the Jamaican
You hear
side.
her, and they all
It's
sound
mixed with her.
Jamaican too. Like
Yes.
it was so far. Yeah,
And they are prideful of their heritage. Okay.
So that's a story. We gotta go dig into that too.
Yes.
Let's see what he said.
Particularly in the Greater Antilles. Between 1853 and 1879, 14,000 Chinese slaves were brought to the British Caribbean as part of a larger system of low-wage
Perhaps.
labor bound for the sugar plantations. These original people settled in 3 main locations: Jamaica, Trinidad, and British Guiana, now Guyana, initially working on the sugar plantations. Most of the Chinese slaves initially went to British Guiana. However, when the program ended in 1879, the population declined steadily, mostly due to emigration to Trinidad and Suriname, which now have large populations of Chinese descendants. Further to this, when the United States enacted the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, many Chinese in the United States fled to Puerto Rico, Cuba, and other Latin American and Caribbean nations, and established small niches for themselves in the society.
Wow.
It is no surprise, then, that the majority of Chinese Caribbeans can be found in the northernmost parts of the Caribbean. Jamaica has the largest population of Chinese Caribbeans, for example, with approximately 75,000 people, followed by the Dominican Republic with 60,000, and then Cuba with 42,000. Smaller populations can be found in Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, and Suriname. The last major ethnic group found in the Caribbean are the Portuguese. Portuguese, particularly those from the Madeira Islands, were also brought in under contracts of indentureship to work on plantations, similar to the Chinese and the Indians. Though the number of Portuguese who were brought to the Caribbean as part of this program was significantly less than other minorities, they still were a few thousand who made the journey to the Caribbean which later became their home. The system of slavery did not provide for any entitlement to the slave. However, the contracts for indentureship included a low fixed wage, housing, and medical attention, as well as a grant of land or return passage on completion of service. In many other ways, however, indentureship continued a system of labor exploitation and degradation, which began under slavery. At the end of their contracts, the Portuguese, like the Chinese and Indians, moved to other parts of the Caribbean.
You know what this sound like to me?
What's that, man?
Okay, so slavery was abolished. We gotta find a way to keep on moving, and make it look good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that group is done. Okay, we gotta find another group. Find
Yeah.
another group.
But they held on to us for a long time.
They did, but I mean,
Long
they didn't
time.
offer pay for us. It was free
Man.
labor.
It's like everybody was getting out of class early. And boss said, black boy, come here. Get back in that door. Like,
Oh,
real
no.
talk. Everybody was getting out of class
Why
early.
you made slavery sound funny? That ain't funny.
Cause sometimes, bro, I know it can be a very
Yeah.
touchy subject, and I know our listeners be feeling like emotional behind these conversations, and I just like to shed light on certain things, so we don't all have to be in tears, but we can,
Right.
we can laugh at some point, not at it, but just because we know,
Yeah.
like we know,
We
you
know
know
what
what I'm
the
saying?
agenda was.
We know,
It's
yeah.
like once you've been, hearing these things, learning your history all your life, it becomes numb. I said this in one of our comments recently. I said that they asked why. They said something about Americans watch a certain video, and they don't understand why we don't get offended. And I said, after watching this stuff and learning about this stuff all our lives, the disrespect becomes numb. Because it do. It's like, okay,
Pretty much.
how offended can you be? I was offended at 5 when I learned it for the first time.
Yeah, I didn't. When my mama set me down, I said, I don't know. I thought it was a scary movie. Like, I didn't want to watch it. You feel me?
We 3 decades in.
Yeah, so
It's a normal part about our life journey, So
it's acceptance. You know what I'm saying?
not acceptance of the disrespect.
No,
or
not
what
of
happened.
the disrespect. It's about that. It's a reality in time that you cannot say didn't happen. So
Right.
I'm accepting the truth that slavery was a real life issue
Right.
that we had to face in America and across the world. So
And it's still going on in certain parts of the world, too.
yeah, so I'm not gonna never look at it and say, like, it's gonna always be times where I could still get emotional behind the topics.
Yeah.
But it's just been for too long. I've known about it now. It's like
Right.
you can't put something in front of me over and over again and expect the same response.
Right. Now, watching the channel, first of all, it seems like y'all trying to make us become a little mini news segment.
I'm feeling like
Okay.
a news clip coming in. Because, man, these vids y'all be bringing in being like some... In today's episode.
Right.
Today's news feed. Like, for real.
The Demouchet's gonna give it to us.
Yeah, somebody could talk about it. The Demouchet's gonna talk about it.
Right. So, while we cover some of these things, yes, it's hard to hear sometimes. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, sometimes we may have to stop the video in the middle of the clip and say, I need a break. I need to go get me
It's a
some
mood
water or
shifter, bro.
something.
It's a real life mood
It
shifter.
is, but we try to present the material as raw and make light of the things we can make light of.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Challenging.
Today, the largest Portuguese populations stayed where they first emigrated and can be found in countries such as Guyana, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago, followed by the ABC Islands, which have smaller population centers. Other ethnicities. As with any region, smaller groups of people have made their way to the Caribbean over the years. These groups may not have come in droves to the Caribbean, much like the list of ethnicities above, but have moved to the region and made the Caribbean their home and became integrated into the culture. For example, the Arab community in the Caribbean, while minor, forms part of the Caribbean diversity. Arabs have made many Caribbean countries their home, with thousands living in Haiti, Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Jamaica, and Suriname, just to name a few. Some of the oldest purpose-built mosques in the region can still be found in countries such as Suriname and Barbados. Check out this video on what the Caribbean territories are.
That's it right there. We're going to stop it right there. You feel me? Again, a lot of information that we want to now start to go dive in more on. I think it's interesting. I think people need to know more about it. So,
right. I like it. We really, really, really want to learn more about the Caribbean culture, the people. We have, reacted to a lot of different places, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like we've reached like the meat and potatoes. Oh, I didn't like when they used to say that in school.
You remember that?
I didn't like that.
I'm gonna serve it to you in bite size.
Yeah. But we don't feel like we've reached the core of Caribbean
Not
culture
even a
yet.
tip. Like, that's so much that's absence from everyone, even ourselves. We need to tap into it.
Yes. And y'all already know how we feel about the diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let us know, what else do we need to know about the Caribbean culture. All right, we hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like to support the channel that way, as well as our reaction request form is in our description box below. We'll see you soon.
Peace.